Hey, what's up, bro?
What's up, bro?
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
So what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, bro. Just staying busy in my current job, working from home most, as you know, COVID is still out there. So I'm vaccinated and all that, but
You've done the whole series already?
I actually did the Johnson & Johnson
Oh, okay.
one and done. I did it over a month ago, so now it's in the news and
Yeah.
people are kind of freaking out about it. But you were in the military, you know that we're kind of like petri dishes for vaccination. So I've had pretty much every vaccination out there. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think I'm gonna live to 150. So, so I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much, right?
I'm not having kids, so I'm not too worried about that either. So,
blood clots. That's the thing that they've been
yeah,
they've been talking about, blood clots. I mean, that's the one I wanted to do, but it wasn't available. So we're doing the first set next week. So I mean, it just so happened that this news came out afterwards. So we had already, booked the one, and I'm cool with that. Whatever, man.
I didn't get to pick. It was target of opportunity. Hey, we have this available. All right, let me get it, because I don't want to be delayed and prolonging the situation. If I can get the vaccine, I'll get it. And again, none of us is going to live to 120, 130. So, people actually like,
Do we even want to live to 130? You know what I mean?
be by yourself, man.
Yo, since you mentioned that though, man, if you could, would you take immortality?
Hell no. Bro, I feel like this is one chapter in our existence. So not to get super philosophical, but I think that, you die and you're still in the universe, just in a different form. So I'm not too concerned with being a human forever. So, I mean, we all come from stardust, bro. So regardless, whatever made you is going to be here. It's going to be just in a different form. So, but I'll let her watch it.
Everybody seems to say no. I don't think anyone has ever, I can't think of anyone who said yes, except one person. They said with the caveat that they could end it anytime they want to.
Yeah.
Which, you're basically immortal unless you choose to not be anymore. It's kind of what their catch-22 is. I mean, that's how it is with the vampires, right? If they don't
I was going to mention, bro, you said an interview with a vampire, right?
Oh, hell yeah. I have every book in that series.
Well, so I should read the books, but when you look at how lonely the dude is centuries later, because...
Yeah, but those guys, man, well, so if you're talking about interview with the vampire, you're talking about Louis, right? The series actually primarily focuses on the stat, by the way. So if you only watch the movie, you would think it's got to do with Louis. And when I read the book, it also makes you think it's got to do with Louis. Yeah. But if you continue, the main character is Lestat. Everything revolves around Lestat.
Well, that's good to know. I'll probably read it. There's only 24 hours, so always competing. I gotta read for work, I gotta read for hobbies, and then there's a long list for that. So at some point, I'm sure I'll get to.
Put that on your to read list, man. The whole Vampire Chronicles, and then that's gonna take you to the Witch Chronicles. Then that's gonna take you to the single books that have to do with that universe, and then that'll take you to the the Werewolf Chronicles, and then you could even get into the Jesus Chronicles. All that stuff from Anne Rice, man.
I'm phenomenal. I'm stuck on Donkey Kong. No, that's what I'm reading.
Okay, you want that?
Really? Yeah. I mean, that's a classic. That's considered technically one of the first novels in modern history, because it was published in the 1600s. So
I don't think I ever read that. Yeah. It's good?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I would say it's kind of part of our Spanish heritage, but the dude is he's out there. He thinks he's a knight and everything is like an adventure, a battle or something. So it's a crazy book so far. It actually makes me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
There's some hilarious parts.
Awesome. I got to pick that up, man.
This dude is hilarious.
Is it in Spanish or English?
I'm reading the English one because sure I can read the Spanish, but it's gonna be Spanish from that era, so it's not necessarily
Would be a little hard to.
I'm probably gonna need a dictionary.
Right.
Understand some of the words here and there.
Even in English, is it like translated into just regular English, or is it like old English?
Right. There's a few different versions, but the one I tracked down, I got it on Amazon, the Kindle version, and it's more of a modern version. So there's still some words that we don't use today, but there's, for the most part, it's English that's intelligible to us. It's not old English or anything.
Right. Cool. I'm gonna pick that up. I should read that. I mean, it is a classic, and it's got to do with I mean, I don't know what it has to do, but I know the name, right? So Don Quixote, I should probably read the book just to be more a little more cultured.
Well, now one of the most popular roads from Puerto Rico, Don Quixote, is named after him. It's named after that book.
Oh yeah, no, I did not know that.
Don Quixote. So
Yeah.
it's named after Don Quixote.
Oh.
So it's been part of the Latin American and Spanish culture for.
I think they called me that before because of my chin. Don Quixote. When
He had a beard. He had like a goatee.
that's where the name comes from.
I don't. He gave himself that. His last name, his family name is Quesada or something like that, and then he renamed himself to Don Quixote of La Mancha, de La Mancha. So that's the town that he considers himself a knight, and it's
Gotta read it. I love the laugh out loud books, man. The ones that make you laugh, that actually make you laugh.
my wife. She gets mad because I fall asleep to the Kindle. It has the lighting, the background light, and I crack up at the book, and she gets pissed because I wake her up because she's falling asleep. She's like, "What the hell are you laughing at?"
Yeah. So, some of them are funny like that. There's an author called Carl Hyacin who I've been reading for a while. I have almost all his books. His books make me crack up like that. I bust out laughing in the train reading those books.
People look at you like, "Oh, yeah, it's all afraid. Like, stay away from there. Don't rob that guy."
That dude right there, he crazy.
Yeah, that's not the dude you want to rob. Just keep going, keep moving.
Yeah. Carl Hyacin. I'm not gonna start throwing a bunch of authors at you right now. We could do that shit like over email or something. But you would definitely, I would encourage you, like when you make it to it, check out the Vampire Chronicles, man.
Mm-hmm. You have a Goodreads account?
I do.
Yeah, so I'll just look you up on that because I usually update whatever I'm reading. And
awesome. Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, I have it on there too. I had written a program for tracking my books, and I kept breaking every time WordPress updated, and I had to keep recoding it. And then at one point, I was like, I'm done with this. And I got a Goodreads account, but I don't like giving it to a third party. I like to kind of keep it on my own stuff. A list of my books and stuff. But they have a pretty cool platform, and I do have it. And the cool thing is they let you export it if you want to, which is nice.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to export it, and then you can kind of manipulate the data, so that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
But yeah, that it fascinates me, man. I don't even want to get started on that because it's just fascinating. But their immortality is not absolute. They can be killed. They can be killed, and they can kill themselves. As a matter of fact, Louis tries to kill himself a lot. He fucking gets powerful as fuck, right? And when you see him in the beginning, he's not that powerful. So who made him? Lestat made him, and Lestat had some old blood, but not very old blood. But Lestat continues to become more and more unbelievably powerful, to the point where even the son can't kill Louis. You know what I mean? Because he shares his blood with him. But he's always whining and
Yeah, he's pissed now.
you know.
It ended up being what he wanted.
But it's a great story. I'm a big fan. So you wouldn't if you had like the option to just not die until you chose to die, you wouldn't take it. Staying in your optimal form, right? In your optimal physical form. I'm not talking about aging. I'm talking about just your optimal form. And I'll even extend it to you have the power to create other immortals, like vampires.
Yeah,
They have the ability to create others. You wouldn't be down with that?
I think that kind of changes the calculus a little bit. I mean, I might do it to maybe test it out. I'm not so sure that I want to be around forever. It's just there's a lot of stuff I feel like I look forward to not having to deal with, like when shit is all said and done. Because life is great, of course, but at the same time, there's responsibilities and things you got to deal with. And I think immortality would have some overhead. There's some stuff you got to pay for, not necessarily with money, but there's a price. There's a price to everything. So
I think the biggest one is loss.
yeah, exactly. No, you build these connections over time, and these people are not necessarily going to be around as long as you. So
Yeah. Loss is the biggest one, especially like you might say, okay, I'll take it. And then your wife goes, no, I don't want it. And then, your kid goes, I don't want it. So now you force them and now you got more Louis on your hand because you made them vampires against their will,
Yeah.
My wife said the same thing. She said she wouldn't do it. The thing is, just think about it, man. Imagine we were around during the Roman era and we live to see today. Think about what's going to come next. That's what saddens me, that I won't see what the next iteration is. What's the next thing? When one day they're going to look back at us and say, those savages died from COVID. those damn Neanderthals died from cancer. So I want to see what comes. I want to be around imagine, remember when we joined the Air Force early on, I used to carry CDs.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a particular luggage just for my CDs. Today, all that and so much more fits in this freaking thing. What's the next one? I want to see it. And what is it going to look like 1,000 years from now? I want to see it. That's why I would take immortality. I want to see it. One of her vampires has been alive since the Roman era. His name is Marius, and he was kind of seen in the movie, but not enough to fully grasp the guy. But he was around. He was a Roman senator, and he's around today. So imagine, I'll take you even back further. The Queen Akasha, which I don't know if you did meet her, right? In the movie. No, she's in the Queen of the Damned. Well, the Queen was back from the Egyptian era. Looking like back when Cleopatra was around, like the Egyptian era, way, way, way back. I'm talking thousands of years before that. As a matter of fact, way before Cleopatra. So she is around. Well, I mean, not anymore, but you know what I'm saying. She's around from that time frame to now. To see all that,
I don't know that the brain has enough. Well, I guess the brain must have enough capacity to store all that knowledge over millennia.
You'll forget. I mean, but they're also
There's now. I'm all in my 40s, bro. They don't remember that much shit.
Yeah, they do forget and things fade and, but their brains work differently than ours. I mean, speaking in vampires, of course, because they're, enhanced so much and stuff, but it's fascinating. That's my reason, because I would just love to see, 1,000 years from now, when they look back at us, what are they going to have that they're going to think of us as beasts, and that being able to see that would be dope, man. And that bums me out. That's why, I would take Immortality, because
Out of curiosity.
yeah, just the intellectual in me would just love to see what can we possibly do next.
Yeah.
What comes next? What is it that's going to ultimately cure cancer? And they're going to look at us like we're these beasts who needlessly suffered and died all these years. And we may not even need the body as a vessel anymore. You may be able to put it into some sort of digital thing, but still be you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is fascinating, man. It's fascinating to me. Wishful thinking. I mean, I'm not gonna be around. I'll be dead by then, and we'll all be dead. But maybe we could be around to see one more major transition in the world in that sense.
We've seen a lot in our lifetimes.
We have. I mean, we went.
You consider everything going back to the World Trade Center, right? In 93, was it 93? When they attacked that, and then in 2001 they attacked it here. And you got Afghanistan, Iraq, you got COVID, you got SARS, you got swine flu.
The technology things that have happened, the miniaturization of everything, the digitalization of everything. Like,
So it's funny you bring that up, because I know that wasn't. We kind of have gone off on a major tangent. I know we weren't going to talk about like the cops and stuff, but before we switch, I was watching on CBS News. There's this guy, I don't know the name of the company. He's the owner of a company that makes superior audio equipment, world-class audio equipment, and it uses records, because when you digitize music, in order to keep it in small enough to store on a computer, it loses quality inherently. It's just not going to be as good. So the records of old and the sound systems from the past actually allowed you to perceive the music throughout its range. You could appreciate everything that the performers were doing, versus when you listen to it on your AirPods or something, it doesn't capture the entire spectrum of what that composer or that musician generated, what they made. So you have more, but the quality is lower. So it's like that battle between quality and quantity.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they definitely remove certain highs and that our ears supposedly can't perceive, and the compression and everything. I'm good with that. I just I'm perfectly fine with that. I know that a true audiophile will not be. They'll want to hear it and it's perfect. Me, that doesn't matter to me. I can barely perceive it.
I'm kind of struggling with it. I think I'm gonna probably buy some new music equipment, because I really, really love some music from the 70s, like La Fania, Willie Colon, Hector Lavoe, Chil Feliciano, all that. And those dudes, when they performed, they had whole orchestras,
right?
Every instrument you could think of. And I feel like I need to appreciate that music in a way that will do it justice. And my iPhone, I don't think is going to when that needs to get justice. So I'm probably going to buy a few of the records, the vinyls, and build up a small collection. Nothing crazy, but just some better audio, so I can, since I listen to that music all the time.
Right. You're a big salsa guy, huh?
Yeah. I have instruments, and not necessarily to dance it. I could dance a bit, but I really like the music, the lyricism, because it's when you see what they're saying, they're talking about life, about the streets, but it's from back in the day before you and I were born, So
Pedro Navaja comes to mind when you say that.
That's one of the songs.
It immediately comes to mind, because that's storytelling right there. That guy is just straight up storytelling. He's almost just. There's a movie, man. You ever saw the movies? Pedro Navaja, El Hijo de Pedro Navaja, like all these.
I gotta look that up. I didn't even know there were movies.
Word, man. and they're actually pretty good. I mean, I was a kid when I saw them, but I remember one of them was called Pedro Navaja, and then they came out with the sequel, El Hijo de Pedro Navaja. Yeah, man.
Like, oh, Carlito's Way.
Check it out, man. Look it up. Yeah, man. I actually want to watch them again now that I mentioned. I completely had forgotten about it.
I'll look it up for sure. I'll look it up. But yeah, so I mean, we warmed up pretty good, chatting for a while. But you've been following the news. You see what's going on. Everything that you and I have lived, they're reporting on it as far as the way the police operate and things that affect the minority demographic more so than anybody else. And did you see that Army lieutenant that was arrested recently?
I did. What, you talking about the dude that they pepper sprayed?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, those cops were out of line, man. I don't bash the police, but you have to call them out when you got to call them out. I mean, if someone's doing something wrong, you got to call them out. And that guy came. Look, man, here's the bottom line. You and I are civil. Well, I'm a civilian. We're not law enforcement, right? We're not law enforcement. So we're expected to be a certain standard, be a certain way. I feel like if you're in law enforcement, you have to have an elevated standard, particularly when it comes to ego, aggression, things of that nature. You can't be a cop who has an ego. So if you tell me shut up and I say no, then you're going to beat the crap out of me. You have to have an extra level of control and discipline. If you can't tell the difference between your gun and your taser, something ain't right.
Right. So
something ain't right. It's either you're a ridiculously stupid person or you did it intentionally. One or the other, right? There's no in between.
So, I mean, this is the thing, right? So while you were in the military, you didn't get to deploy, did you?
Say again?
You didn't get to deploy while you were in the Air Force? Did you deploy anywhere?
No.
Yeah. So I'm deployed a few times, and when you go forward and you carry a weapon, there's what any military member will tell you that's deployed, ROE, so rules of engagement. And those rules of engagement dictate when and where you get to use force, under what conditions you get to use force. So there's the obvious situations with self-defense, right? Usually there's positive identification, make sure that the person is an actual enemy before you take a row. There's rules of the game, basically ground rules that dictate when you get to use deadly force, when you get to defend yourself, when you get to pull your weapon from the holster and use it. And with the military, you have the UCMJ, right? The Uniform Code of Military Justice. So you do something stupid. You go like that one Army, I don't remember he left the base in Afghanistan and shot up a village of people. Well, guess what? You go to trial, and if you get found guilty, you go to Leavenworth, to prison. So with the military, there's a process to hold us accountable. With the cops, there's supposedly a process, but they police themselves. So you can file a complaint with Internal Affairs. You can bring it to the attention of their leadership, yet they get to still do their job. They go on paid vacation, and life goes on for them. So that's the issue here. From my take is there are a lot of these guys that are now getting caught with body cams and surveillance, doing things that are illegal as police. They don't realize that they're not in the military. So guess what? There should be some ROE, just like the military. You're not in the military, but like you said, you should be held to a higher standard because you're in America. These are enemy combatants. These are American citizens that you're supposedly there to protect and serve. Yet they see them as the enemy. and they engage them accordingly, which is wrong. Like your initial instinct shouldn't be to shoot somebody. That should be the very last resort. You know, and I've told you about my whole situation with the cops. I mean, I'm glad that they didn't shoot me, because they could have. And back in 2008, there weren't any body cams. So it would have been my word had I been killed against theirs. So that guy doesn't have anything to say because you're dead. And then the cops, by default, the system rules in their favor all the time, frankly, which you see. I mean, Monday, they're supposed to come out with the George Floyd verdict from the...
I'm worried about that because the potential for trouble there is really bad. I'm concerned for humanity. I'm concerned for humanity on that because, if they let these cops go, it's just not going to be a good thing. This guy.
People are going to lose their minds, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, how much clearer than that do you need to be? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Look, man, if I go and I accidentally discharge my weapon, do I get to be like it was an accident? No, I'm gonna go to prison. I'm gonna get locked up.
Consider, all right, car accident, right? So you crash into somebody by mistake. Do you get to go home and just, all right, life goes on? No. Your insurance is going to have to pay for it. Your rates are going to go up. There's a consequence, even though you didn't mean to do it. Now, it's worse if you deliberately committed the infraction. But even if it's an accident, someone has to pay for it.
There is a consequence.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a consequence. And depending on the accident and the results of the accident, that cost could also include incarceration. Depending around the parameters or around it. So I understand that the police have a tough job. I understand that, traffic stops are dangerous. I understand all that. But at the same time, if you, I'm going to go back to this one because it's the most recent stupid thing. If you can't distinguish between a taser and a handgun, and this person was responsible for training people, if I read correctly. So this was a senior, experienced officer. If you can't determine between the two, you're definitely negligent, and you should be punished accordingly. I mean, this I can't believe people debate this.
So bro, when we deploy, for example, you have your weapon on you. You're supposed to carry it with you all the time. You got in the shitter, that gun is on your belt. Or if you wear a light holster, I don't like wearing a light holster. You take a shit, that gun is right with you. If you mistakenly shoot the gun, back in the day, they called it accidental discharge. Well, guess what? The military calls that negligent discharge because you're supposed to maintain positive control of the weapon at all times. And a negligent discharge usually equals Article 15. So you're going to get punched. So there's no such thing as an accidental discharge, because if you have a round in the chamber and you have a round in the chamber and you're not practicing trigger discipline, well, guess what you just did? That gun went off. The gun isn't a living thing. It doesn't shoot on its own. You did something to cause the gun to shoot. So with the military, we're strict about that. You'll get punished if you do something stupid like that. With the cops, it's a mistake. It's like, well, he feared for his life. Really? Because
you're taking lives here. It's not like it accidentally discharged a gun. You took a gun instead of a taser and you shot somebody dead. What greater cost can you take from somebody than their life over a mistake and get away with it? You know what I mean? Like, it's just mind blowing, man. And again, to be clear, I don't bash cops. I have cop family. I have cop friends. but as a society, we have to, if you make if you're so here's I'm not a cop. Why am I not a cop? Because I had a lot of trouble in the street growing up. It made me nervous. It made me anxious. It made me a fearful individual, right? I'm a paranoid freaking guy. I walk the streets on edge all the time. It's my history. The violence I experienced made me that way. So I know I wouldn't be a good cop because I'm fearful. Now you put a fearful person in a position of authority and you give them a life-taking weapon, and somebody on the street challenges them, they might think, oh, that's that guy who used to pick on me. And they might escalate things to so I know this, and I'm not a cop. We need to examine this. Why did she reach for the wrong weapon? The one who shot.
Yeah.
Why did that happen? How could you make that mistake? Did the situation even deem a weapon? You have to look at this whole thing, and then you say, there's got to be consequences. I'm sorry.
Thank you. You hit the nail on the head. So why is it that there isn't a process to determine what type of person is hired to be a police officer? Because like you said, to me, my impression is that a lot of folks who were bullied, who felt inferior or felt whatever, gravitate towards that profession. And then it's almost like payback. Like, now I have a badge and a gun, so now I get to flaunt my power and my authority. And that's not what it's about. They should be there to serve the public because our taxes pay. It's not free employment. So there should be some accountability is the bottom line. They shouldn't just be able to do whatever they want, which is what they've been doing. And then the system as it stands, the prosecutors on up, shield these guys. That's what they do. That's what happened in my case. They asked me, they basically said, yeah, if you want us to drop your charges, then you can sign this general release agreeing to not sue the police officers, and then we'll close your case. And my 3 charges were resisting arrest. There was no criminal charge that would justify them even engaging with me. There was a little like robbery or something that initiated the engagement with the cops because they were lying in the first place. So why is it that you asked me to sign the general release so I don't sue you asses in exchange for you dropping charges? Now, as a military member, you don't have the luxury of going to trial and doing all that because it affects your career, especially if you have a clearance, military clearance, classified information. Well, then no, because I don't want this hanging over my head for years. So, okay, yeah, I'll sign the release. But that's not the way it should go down. Why?
That's how they get you. They know that they come up with some trumped up charges. Oh, hit him with this one, hit him with this one. And then we'll just make this go away by making him sign this. That's what they do. And they do that to a lot of people. And that goes into the whole prison complex side of it. If you look at how many people are offered plea deals in exchange for not going to trial or not following through on certain charges, they take them because even if they're innocent, because they think that the system is rigged against them. So a lot of people get jacked up on the plea deals. Hey, you have the potential. If we go to trial, you might be in prison for 20 years. But I tell you what, say you're guilty, and though you claim you didn't do it, even if you didn't do it, say you're guilty, you'll do 6 months community service, and we'll let it go, but you'll be on probation or some crap like that. And people get scared.
And it's still a warrant court when your record, you get to live with that. And now that's what they just did to you. Completely ruin any future employment or anything. You're trying to get yourself out of the sling. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that gets arrested has committed a crime. Sure, there are criminals out there. But when the cops were making criminals out of thin air by arresting you and claiming that you resisted arrest and you do punches at them, and then there's no other crime that precipitated them engaging,
Right.
then that suspect off the bat, it's like, why are you charging me with resisting arrest? Why did you try to arrest me in the first place? Or what did I do in the first place? And that's the kicker. They call it the trifecta. The trifecta, because it's like resisting arrest, it's like a felony version, there's a misdemeanor version, resisting with violence. Every state has a different combination of what they are. But they're bullshit charges that they just stack onto you, like you said, to scare the shit out of you. So for me, I was in my 20s. I was in my late 20s. I didn't have the life experience I have now.
Right.
I
Plus, you're also, you're also military. You don't want to, ruin your career. Then, and it's crazy that there's people out there that have the power to do that to us on a whim.
And that's the issue. Why do these guys get so much power over the public without any accountability? Who are they? Why are they so special? Why do they get to just, a cop could just pull you over and claim that you did something? So now the body cams are a game changer because,
Well, they're supposed to be.
they're supposed to be, but guess what? They show one perspective that's neutral. They show a neutral perspective that neither you or I can we can interpret it as we see fit, but the video is the video. So I say it's a game changer because they have to find ways to try to justify themselves. They're arguing with the tape. Whereas in the past, there was no tape. There was no video evidence. So they could say whatever they wanted. And it's like, okay, take their word for it. But now there's video. So they use things like, well, the video doesn't show the whole story and this and that. And I agree to a degree, but it's different because the video shows compelling evidence that you can't ignore. And that's the issue, like with the George Floyd situation.
Right. And even with that, even with it there, right in your face, there's people who make it a two-sided thing. It's bizarre. It doesn't matter what you see. It could be clear as day, and people will still take sides, no matter what.
They find some, they call mental gymnastics. You start making up some random shit to justify your position. And
it's bizarre, man. It's crazy. I mean, I just have a hard time thinking how somebody can't tell they're holding a taser or a gun. I don't care how stressed could she have been, or under the pressure that was this kid, like 20 years old?
Yeah.
What could have been possibly happening at that moment that you were so scared or so confused or so angry or whatever that you mix the two up? Like, I understand if we're in the middle of a shootout and you're running for cover and you're ducking and you're trying to like not get shot, and then you reach and you accidentally grab the wrong one in the heat of that moment. I could understand that conversation. It's like, well, while we get a little confused, we get flustered or whatever, but you're stopping a 20-year-old, right? I mean, what could have been happening in that situation that leads to that level of confusion?
So I think that a lot of those guys have been conditioned to believe that we're at the bottom rungs of society, so no one's going to question what they do to us. No one gives a shit. So I'll give you an example. With the Lieutenant Nazario, if you watch that video, what did the cop assume about him when he saw him in uniform? He assumed that he was an E3 or an E4, a private or a specialist or a corporal or something like that. He did not assume that he was a lieutenant, because guess what? You don't assume that brown and black people are officers. They think we're at the bottom of everything. Meaning that when you assume that someone is at the bottom of the totem pole, you can also do whatever you want because no one else is going to be concerned with that person because they're not high ranking. They're not. And that right there shows the bias that that guy had. Because when you see the lieutenant respond, he's like, I'm a lieutenant. And it's like, believe it or not, there's actually lieutenants who are not white. There's other colors too. But when the cops approach you that way, assuming that you're at the bottom from the get-go, they're going to treat you a certain way because
I have no
they're not
regard for
giving you. Yeah, they're not giving them that respect from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, and what about all this support the troops stuff and, patriotism and stuff? If that's how you treat the people serving your country, I mean, that's the other side, the generally the individual who, defends the cops and attacks everybody else is a patriot and, even the Trumpers, right? MAGA, make America great, blah, blah. Well, who does that? Your troops. So how, that's how you treat your troops?
Well, the attack on the Capitol, you saw what they did to the cops there.
Yeah.
So it's hypocrisy, bottom line. It's respect the troops and the cops and all that. Unless they're giving us a hard time. If they're giving us a hard time, then fuck them. We don't care.
Unless you're against us, then, when I was in uniform, I encountered some like racist slurs and stuff in Texas when I was in Wichita Falls, and I tell people, I say, you guys say racism doesn't exist and all that, but, I look pretty white, right? So in terms of the degrees of abuse, I'm probably towards the lesser. Right? Cops generally don't stop me. Cops generally don't, it happened when I was a kid and stuff, but I never got the crap beat out of me. I got slammed on cars and I got roughed up, but I certainly never had a gun pulled on me or got beat to a pulp or nothing, So that's my Blanquito privilege, right? That, I look how I look. You also have fair skin and you look Blanquito, but you certainly look more Puerto Rican than I do. You know what I mean? You have that.
There's that. Yeah.
You have that. Like, all right, they might not, treat you as bad as they treat one of our homies who's black or dark skinned Latino. But in the scale of it, they're probably gonna come at you harder than they'll come at me. Right, because you just look like a Boricua. There's no, I look more Blanquito. So we want to beat your ass, but you
look like my cousins.
Yeah. Your hair kind of looks like one of my kids. I actually had somebody say that to me. You look like my kid. Get the fuck out of here. That, and I got a ticket. Like I didn't get arrested or anything, There's degrees, man, and people don't like to talk about it, but even looking how I looked, people, not that I pretend to be white, right? Or not like I walk around pretending to be anything I'm not, but even looking how I look and in uniform, I had people like, boy, where you from, boy?
Yeah, because you don't look like,
we don't like your kind around here, boy. Call me a Yankee, and they made basically I had to leave the establishment that I was at. It was a tattoo parlor in Wichita Falls, Texas, and after that I just stayed on base. I didn't feel safe. Fucking 4 bears were bear looking motherfuckers with plaid shirts and shit. Like he's like, you from the Bronx? So you one of the tough guys? And I'm like, nah, we're not gonna get our asses kicked out here, man.
Somewhere they'll never find you.
Yeah, and they're armed, that you could carry in Texas. So there's no, like I'm not stupid, you know what I mean? Like I was like, hey gentlemen, I'm just gonna go on my merry way. Hey, you best do that, boy. Okay. All right, man. Yeah, and I just got the hell out of there. I just stayed on base after that. I was like, there's nothing out there for me, man. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, no,
I wanted to get a tattoo. It'll probably tattoo a freaking dick on my arm or something. You know, like,
it's hard to sauce to get
you know what I mean? Like,
better flag.
yeah, we'll, you want to draw that dolphin? Yeah, we got you. And you know, next thing you know, I have the Confederate flag on my back. You know, got the hell out of there, and I got the hell out of there quick. Yeah, stayed on base. You know,
Probably the best thing you did, man. But sadly, that's where we live. I don't think that I haven't experienced most times I've gone to different places throughout the country. It's been fine. I haven't experienced any craziness. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a time where I had people give me a super hard time, but it's always lucky. You know, there's always, you can sense when someone feels like he ain't from around here, you know, and they just, the way they interact with you, you could tell they're just not comfortable with your presence. So it's just the name of it. Yes.
it's the little microaggressions you could perceive, and
Yeah.
you know, no, but these guys straight up say, "Yeah, you one of them Yankee boys," and I see Rodriguez, right? You one of them Yankee boys. I'm like, yeah, we don't much like you Yankees around here. I was, all right, fellas. Yeah. That's right, boy. Yeah. And you know, I think calling me boy is not, you know, it's not a term of endearment. You know what I mean?
To start the relationship.
You know? Yeah. No, I dipped, man. You know, and when I deal with cops, I'm very respectful, you know, always have been, you know, just, I mean, it's just kind of how I came up and stuff, but, I see, you know, I mean, I've encountered some pretty nasty ones. I was with my friends before too, and one of them was flashing a flashlight in my face for no reason. He just put it right in my face and just looking at me like he was trying to get me to defend myself and say something, because this guy wanted to, you know, I don't know why, he just had it out for me. Like you know, he just wanted me to, you know, he's just like, you doing any drugs? You doing any drinking? Like flashing it in my face. And I'm like, no, officer, don't do any drugs. Oh, you don't do any drugs? Let me be the judge of that, and flashing it in my, you know, like he was trying to provoke me to get, and I just kept it cool, you know, like you can check anything you like. I'll comply, you know, like I just, you know, but, you knew that guy wanted to, you know, like you're saying, you could tell he just wanted, just blink the wrong way. Give me a reason, like, you know.
That's the thing. So I would say most of my 2 out of 3 encounters with cops have been fine, perfectly fine. Most of the time, they're cool. I've even had them almost apologize for giving me a ticket. It's like, you know, I caught you speeding. Sorry, man. I got you on my device. Just too bad. But they're cool about it. They're not there. And I drive away thinking, well, fuck, you just gave me a $200 ticket. And you're polite about it. So
Yeah,
it's kind of funny. But in some cases, I've experienced what you just described, where they're just waiting. They're almost like egging you on to see if you can act. And then my one time where I actually got arrested, where they beat the shit out of us, then that's the outlier. I don't think that happens all the time, but it shouldn't happen, period. You shouldn't be able to just fuck somebody up just because you feel like it without, they're not judge and jury. That's not their job. That's not their place. So,
and that's to protect themselves, you know, they give you the trumped up charges.
Yeah.
And
to shoot your homes.
You know.
And now it's, you're biting the shit sandwich. You're dealing with the situation, and they go on their merry way. Some of these dudes are fucking assholes. What I am saying is, some people get tired of their shit, so they go and act out. Like do you ever hear about that Navy veteran? His name was Christopher Dorr.
That's the black
Diesel black dude that just went on Rampage, and he was just killing cops left and right. He wrote a whole manifesto and all that.
They killed him, right?
Of course they killed him. They let his ass up in like a cabin. By the time they finally caught him, he was barricaded in a cabin, and shit went up in flames. So his side of the story they didn't arrest him to get his side of the story.
No. He's black, bro. You know,
He was LAPD or something.
no, he gets killed. You know, he doesn't get the escort to McDonald's and the gentle touch that mass shooters and people like that get of other persuasions.
So people willfully close their eyes and they pretend that there isn't a problem. And I feel like they do that at their own peril. You want to choose to be blind, but then when people start acting out, you're shocked.
I mean, you can only abuse someone so much before they retaliate.
Mm-hmm.
And to be completely honest, I'm surprised that it hasn't been worse than it is. I'm surprised that, people in the families and stuff haven't, reached that point.
That's the definition of a blood feud. That's what happens in the Middle East, Central Asia. You do some shit to my family, so now I'm going to do some shit to your family. And then it keeps on going.
Oh.
And they like the Hatfields and McCoys. I'm sure you've heard of that. Like Kentucky. Those two families, they will fight forever, for generations. Killing each other, shooting each other.
Name sounds familiar. Yeah, the name sounds familiar. I can't recall where I heard it, but yeah, it sounds familiar. But I mean, it drives me crazy to see people get away with things like that. And it's not like it's just a bad mistake. It's a life-ending mistake. It's just you take someone's life from them. You take away a family member. Like I don't even like to think about that shit, man. Like it's horrific.
It's wrong. It's that simple. It's wrong. And who are they to do that to people, to families?
Yeah, and no, there's no repercussions. You all good? It's messed up, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, bro, that's cool. I'm like I said, I'm always glad to chat with you. It's always entertaining. Good. Just good to catch up,
Cool, brother.
All right, bro.
All right, man.
Take it easy. I'll see you, bro.
All right, suave.
You are listening to the NYC Talking podcast. www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.